SCP-5172 is the body harvester. I would only assume that that has to do with stealing corpses or the stuff from corpses, but it may actually be looking for body parts soon. Not really sure. We're gonna find out. This one's an animation by Dr. Bob, guys. Make sure to subscribe to him. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos, and let's get into this one.
A businessman steps out of his hotel room holding a silver ice bucket. He looks up and
at
down the empty hallway until he spots what he was searching for.
I stayed at a
An
hotel
ice
recently.
machine. He slips
And I
his
got a lot
room
of
key
ice
into his
when I was
pocket
there.
and heads down the hall towards the machine.
Yep.
As he waits for the machine to fill his bucket with ice,
Takes a
he
little
glances
while
around
sometime.
and spots something. There at the end of the hall, it looks like someone is
Little girl
sticking their
watching
head
him?
out from around the corner, watching him.
Hello.
But then they suddenly disappear. He doesn't think much of it. It's probably just some kid playing around.
And they
His
heard the ice
bucket
bucket.
is only a quarter full. These old machines can be really slow.
Mm-hmm.
He looks around again and sees the same head poking around the corner, looking at him.
Hello.
He thinks it might be a young girl, but as he squints to get a better look, she disappears around the corner once again.
Right.
The ice machine finally finishes filling his bucket.
Thank you.
He picks it up and starts to walk back
Them cubes
towards
are
his
big right
room,
there?
but stops. He
Yep.
turns around and looks down the hall to see the same girl there again,
Yeah.
watching him with a creepy, unblinking stare. "Do you want something?" the man asks down the hallway, but there's no response from the girl. She simply keeps looking at him.
Just go to
"Are you
your
just
room.
going to keep staring at me?" That's exactly what she does.
I don't
The
really
businessman
interact
is really
with
starting to
kids
get annoyed
that
now.
much.
All
Parents
he
can
wanted to
get
do
kind of
was
creeped
unwind
out.
with a drink after a
You know?
long day at a job
I'll do
site.
it in front of their
Why
parents.
does this girl want to keep messing
But-
with him? He starts
like
walking down
hi
the
or
hall
whatever,
towards
you
her.
know?
"I
Hey,
don't know
buddy,
what you
how
think
you
you're playing
doing?"
at,"
You know,
the
something like that.
businessman says as he walks down the hallway in
Don't
her
be
direction.
confronting children,
When he
bro.
gets halfway to her,
Parents
she
are gonna
disappears
think you
behind
crazy.
the corner once again. But the businessman keeps walking and talking to her.
Or a
"If you don't
pedo.
stop messing with me, I'll..." He rounds the corner and sees nothing. There's a short hallway that leads to a maintenance closet, but no girl.
Okay.
Did she somehow slip inside the closet? He didn't
Maybe.
hear the door, but she couldn't be anywhere else. He sets down the ice bucket on the floor and reaches towards the handle with more than a little apprehension. He feels uneasy for some reason, and maybe even a little scared. But there's nothing to be afraid of. It was just a girl, wasn't it? He grabs the handle
Why
and
you
opens the
tripping
door. "Aha! I've got you." There's nothing in the closet. Just a
Brooms.
couple of mops, a bucket, and some cleaning supplies. He pushes the mops aside as if
Like,
she could
he
somehow
was
be
hiding
hiding
behind
behind
the
them.
mops.
But no, there's no place to hide or secret doors to be found.
All right.
He really must have imagined the whole thing. It was a long day, and a long flight before that.
Right.
He needed that drink. He sticks his room key into the door and pulls it out. A green light flashes and the lock clicks open. He
Okay.
grabs the handle to open the door when he realizes he's forgotten something.
The ice bucket.
The ice bucket, the whole reason he left his room to begin with.
Oh,
He
you
walks
better.
back down the hallway
He
and
left
past
his
the ice
door unlocked.
Wait a second. Where's the ice machine? Isn't this where it was?
What?
The alcove where he could have sworn he got ice just minutes before is empty.
Empty.
He looks around, up and down the hallway. Did he somehow get turned around? He walks to the end of the hall and turns the corner.
Is there an ice
Sitting
bucket
there on
there?
the floor in front of the maintenance closet door is the ice bucket.
You're not going
He looks
crazy.
around, confusion on his face, and picks up the ice bucket. Back at his room, he puts his room key into the door. The lock flashes red. He tries the key again, and once more it flashes red.
Is
He
it the
tries the
same
key
room?
a third time, and as he does so, the door opens. He looks up to see a large man standing in front of him. "Do you need something?" The businessman is confused. "What are you doing in my room?" he asks. "Your room," the large man responds. "Yeah, room 237. The large man looks annoyed. He shoves past the businessman and points across the hall. The businessman follows his finger's direction to see that he's pointing at another door, one that has the number 237 next to it on the wall.
All right.
The
So
businessman looks at the
are you
number next to the door
hallucinating?
he's been trying to unlock. 239.
239.
The businessman laughs nervously at his mistake as the large man pushes past him again and closes the door behind him.
What's
Back
going
in his
on?
room,
The
the
little
businessman
girl.
can finally sit down and pour himself a drink. He takes 2 ice cubes from the bucket and drops them in his glass before taking a long sip. Ah. He turns on the TV, but after watching for a few minutes, he finds
Gets
that he's having a
sleepy.
hard time concentrating.
Okay.
Whatever this show is, it moves too fast and
It's
he can't keep track
Terrible.
of what's happening. He turns off the
Just
TV
watch
and
something
picks up
else.
a book instead.
That'll
Maybe some
work.
reading will help him to
I
relax and
watch
get his
YouTube on my
bearings.
phone.
He still feels really off. He opens the book, but gets confused. Is this the same book he bought in the airport? It looks like it's written in a foreign language. It's just a bunch of squiggles. He tosses the book on the table and yawns. It's not that late, but he's feeling
Weird.
really tired. He gets up, kicks off his shoes, and lies down on the bed without
What's
bothering
going
to
on,
undress.
yo?
He's too tired for that. He mumbles to himself for a moment, half awake, talking about how he needs to return that foreign book when he goes back to the airport.
Yeah.
What were they trying to do, selling him something he can't even read? He continues to mumble about the things he'll do to the cashier who sold him the book for a while until he finally drifts off to sleep. His
Alright.
eyes open. It's dark. He must have been sleeping for a while. The room is cold, too. He goes to pull the blankets up over him, but immediately realizes that he can't move. Try as he might, his body won't respond. Not a single muscle. Only
What's
his
going
eyes
on?
seem to work. He's completely paralyzed. He can't even yell for help.
Sleep paralysis?
What happened? And what is he going to do? Did he have
Or
a stroke? Is he
induced
dying?
paralysis.
As his mind races through all the different possibilities, he suddenly sees something.
The little girl.
From his bed in the dark room, he can just barely make out the door to his hotel room, and he is terrified by what he can see coming through it. A figure has appeared in the door, literally in the door, as if it is phasing through the solid wood.
Oh
The man
my.
is scared to death as the thing fully enters his room and turns to look right at him. The man wants to scream, but his mouth is still completely numb. The figure starts crawling towards him. He can see now that it's small, smooth, and completely white. He fights as hard as he can, willing his body to move.
What in the world is
but
this
nothing
thing,
happens.
bro?
He can't so much as
So
whisper.
is it gonna harvest his
The
organs?
thing climbs up onto the bed and sits down right on his chest.
Or his whole body?
He prays that he is dreaming, telling himself to wake up over and over again as the creature leans his face in close to his. It seems as if it is somehow looking at him with its smooth, eyeless sockets.
Right.
It tilts its head slightly to the side and...
Tongue.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Bob. And
What
we
the
couldn't
heck,
be
dude?
happier that you've decided to stay with us as we delve into SCP-5172,
Oh, Dr.
an
Bob, it's
extremely
good to
dangerous
see you.
anomaly
What
that is
the
known
heck
by the
is this?
extremely non-threatening name of
Hotel
North American
ice
Hotel
machine.
Ice Machines.
What?
SCP-5172 is a phenomenon that only affects guests staying at hotels located on the North American continent.
All
It is
right.
unknown how or what causes these guests to become affected,
Strange.
but those that are will begin to notice something. Ice machines in the hallway of the hotel they are staying in.
Of
Now, you
course.
might think this sounds perfectly normal. After all, don't most hotels have ice machines?
Yeah?
If you just had this thought, then I have some bad news for you, because there is a high probability that you too may have been affected by
Oh
SCP-5172.
my gosh.
You see, ice machines are actually extremely uncommon in hotels, and it is likely that you have never actually seen one, or at least
What?
not a real one. Allow me to explain.
What?
In the 1950s, the founder of the Holiday Inn chain of hotels, Kenan Williams, had an
Yeah?
idea that he thought would set his hotel apart and attract customers, which was to
Okay.
offer more perks and amenities than his competitors.
Convenience, yeah.
For example, he implemented a new policy where children would be allowed to stay for free, something most hotels charged extra for.
That's really
Hotels
cool.
at the time also had a policy of making their guests pay for ice, but Williams decided to change that by installing ice machines in his hotels.
Uh-huh.
Sadly, the marketing stunt didn't work. The cost of the machines wasn't made up for in new customers.
Sure.
The plan was discontinued by the
Who would
mid-1960s.
stay at a hotel
The vast
just
majority of
because
the
they had
machines
ice
were removed,
available?
with the rest being pulled from the hotels as they would
It's
break down,
convenient, but it's
since
a
they were no
dollar a
longer
bag,
worth the
baby,
expense
you
of
know?
maintaining. Despite the fact that they only existed in hotels for a brief period of time, there is still a widely held belief among the public that ice machines can be found in nearly every hotel.
Right.
In a poll of the general population conducted by the Foundation, over 80% of adults claim to have memories of seeing an ice machine in a
Sure.
hotel.
I
a number
used
that is
one
quite
last week,
literally
bruh.
impossible.
Okay.
Just where this mass delusion came from, or why it persists, is currently unknown, but it's theorized to be related to the SCP-5172 phenomenon in
Okay.
some way. The SCP Foundation first became aware
never
of
saw nothing like that.
SCP-5172
Nothing.
in 1973, after a
Okay.
series of unsolved murders occurred at hotels in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
All right.
Foundation investigators soon discovered the prevalence of false ice machine memories and installed a number of hidden cameras around the hotels in both their public spaces as well as in the rooms themselves. It was
Okay.
after viewing the footage captured by these cameras that the Foundation finally got their first look at just what happens during an occurrence of SCP-5172, which has been dubbed a Zalmunna Event.
A Zalmunna?
The Zalmunna Event is triggered whenever a guest at the hotel sees and then uses an ice machine.
Okay.
The moment they use the ice machine, the event cannot be stopped unless certain actions are taken. But more
Okay.
on that later.
Okay.
The targeted individual who used the ice machine will immediately begin to have the sense that they are being watched,
Right.
This usually comes in the form of an unknown individual who appears
I've
to be
never
looking
felt
at them
that.
from the end of the hall where the ice machine is located.
Not in a hotel.
Third-party observers are unable to see the person who is supposedly watching the target, nor do
Right.
they appear on any recording devices, visual
Okay.
or otherwise. The targets have described the watchers in various ways, leading the Foundation to believe that they may actually be nothing more than hallucinations.
Right.
Shortly after, the targeted individual will begin to experience feelings of confusion and fatigue, not dissimilar to the symptoms of early-stage dementia.
Wow.
The longer it takes the target to return to their hotel room, the more pronounced these feelings will become.
I've only
They will
gotten
soon
that
have
once.
issues completing everyday tasks.
But that was
and
because
will
I was
experience
drugged at a
short-term
hotel.
memory loss.
At a hotel bar.
Despite these feelings of fatigue and
Hello.
disorientation,
Weird.
targets report that their mind feels too active to fall asleep, anywhere other than a hotel room bed.
That didn't happen to
is.
me too.
This feeling will usually cause the target to seek out their own hotel room, though they
Right.
may have difficulty finding it due to their confused state.
Okay.
They don't need to sleep in their own room for the next stage of the Zalmunna event to be triggered, though. Sleeping in any hotel room will do. Once
Okay.
the target lies down in a hotel room bed, they will immediately enter the hypnagogic state, which is the confusing and
Hypnagogic.
dreamlike state that one experiences in between full sleep and waking.
Okay, I've
The
been
temperature
there.
of the room will begin to lower during this period as well,
Right.
until it reaches approximately 11 degrees Celsius, or
Oh my.
51.8 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, no way. I
After
never
about
got
an
that
hour,
cold in my
the target
hotel
will
room
enter
either.
a state of deep sleep, at which point SCP-5172-1 will finally make its appearance.
Yeah.
The humanoid-like entity is quite diminutive in size, standing just 4 feet tall and appearing
Right.
to weigh a little over 60 pounds.
Okay.
Its arms are twice as long as normal humans, though, and the top of its head is enlarged as well. Though
Okay.
it is not visible to observers present in the room, cameras are able to record the creature.
Oh,
After
interesting.
phasing through the door of the hotel room, the 5172-1 entity will begin crawling towards the sleeping person, who will wake up to find that they are in a state of sleep paralysis. The entity will climb up onto the bed and sit on the person's chest.
Wow.
It will move its smooth-skinned face close to the targets before opening its mouth, revealing a long, thin, proboscis-like appendage that it inserts into the target's eye socket.
Ugh.
It's long been theorized that it may be administering some type of paralytic or anesthesia directly into the brain, so that
Right.
it can then engage in the next stage of the Zalmunna event,
Which is?
harvesting. The 5172-1 entity's chest then opens to reveal a pair of tools.
Oh, gosh.
It will take the tools out of its chest and use them to begin extracting 4-centimeter cubes directly from the target's body. Flesh, muscle, organs, and even bone will all be cut and scooped out with the same ease,
Wow.
which it then places inside of its own chest cavity.
How strange.
While it starts the process extremely slow, collecting just 2 cubes per minute at first, it quickly ups its pace to as many as 50 cubes per minute, leading to the entire harvesting process typically lasting 2 to 3 hours. Once it has finished
What?
harvesting, the creature will simply place its tools back inside its chest cavity, crawl back towards the hotel room door, and phase through it once more. But the
Okay.
horror is far from over.
Oh my.
SCP-5172-1 collects all of the organic material from the target during the harvesting process.
Sure.
All except for the central nervous system, which includes the spinal cord, peripheral
Oh
nerves,
my
the
God.
retinas, and the brain.
So you felt it
These
all.
are left lying on the hotel room bed after 5172-1 carefully cut and scooped around them.
Gosh.
And the truly horrifying aspect of the Zalmunna event is that the target is still alive at this point and will continue to live for several more hours in this
Oh
condition.
my God.
Even worse, reports from targets who had the Zalmunna event interrupted while in the middle of the harvesting process described being fully conscious the entire time.
God.
It now appears that the proboscis-like appendage that 5172-1 inserts into the target's eye does not appear to be an anesthetic agent at all,
Okay.
since the same rescued targets reported feeling excruciating pain.
Oh my
Instead,
gosh.
it seems that the purpose of the entity's appendage is to ensure that the victim stays conscious through the whole process, fully aware of each cube being removed from their body,
Oh
helpless
my
to do a thing to stop it.
God.
As mentioned, the triggering of a Zalmunna event is not a guaranteed death sentence and can
Right.
be stopped. While much
Okay.
faster than humans, SCP-5172-1 entities aren't especially strong and sustain damage much like a human would.
Okay.
Once it begins harvesting, the entity will become visible to others and can be terminated by the same methods that would kill a human, such
Okay.
as with gunshots or stab wounds. However, simply killing the entity isn't enough. The affected
Right.
ice machine must be physically removed from the premises in order to prevent a new instance of SCP-5172-1
Okay.
from materializing. Once triggered through the use of an affected ice machine, the only way to completely stop a Zalmunna event is for the target to leave the hotel and sleep in a private residence, which will prevent SCP-5172-1 from appearing.
Okay.
If the target sleeps in any bed in the same or even a different hotel, the event will continue.
Well, what the
Efforts
heck,
are
man?
underway to better understand SCP-5172-1 entities by capturing a live specimen, but so far, all attempts have resulted in failure.
Okay.
Captured entities are capable of manifesting their tools and cutting out of containment, while all attempts at binding or otherwise tying down the creatures has led to them dying within several minutes.
Wow.
Autopsies of dead instances have revealed that, like us, they have a circulatory system,
Sure.
though its heart is located in its head, which
Weird.
explains how they can be killed by being shot or stabbed, but
Sure.
they lack respiratory and digestive organs.
Huh.
As you can imagine,
Strange.
the existence of SCP-5172 presents a problem for Foundation personnel and their
Yeah.
business travel. Agents who must stay in hotels rather than SCP safe houses are briefed on the anomaly and required to wear heart rate monitors that can detect when an elevated heart rate occurs that may be connected to a Zalmunna event.
All
Social
right.
media, text messages, and other forms of communication from devices that are connected to hotel Wi-Fi systems are monitored at all times for any
Oh,
references to
gosh.
ice machines, and any mention triggers the dispatching of a containment team to the site who will attempt to identify and remove both the ice machine and the targeted individual from the premises.
Okay.
All ice machines discovered at locations thought to be affected by SCP-5172 are then relocated to Site 30. One final note. While SCP-5172 has long been thought to be a North American exclusive phenomenon, there has recently been one confirmed instance of an affected ice machine in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Making
Okay.
it even stranger is the fact that the Dutch do not seem to have the same mass public perception of the prevalence of hotel ice machines that North Americans do.
Huh.
And it is still unclear if this was a single isolated event or a sign that the Keter-class anomaly is spreading to other locations.
What the
Only
heck?
time will tell. But in the meantime, even if you're staying outside of North America and want a frosty drink, consider paying the outrageous fees and grabbing an already cold one from the minibar.
No, no,
If you
no.
don't, you might find that you're paying for your refreshing beverage with much more than a pound of flesh. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr. Bob, like SCP-150, the body-stealing parasite, for another anomaly that wants nothing more than to get inside of your body.
That was a really good one too. Guys, I mean, I've used ice machines a number of times before. How can you try to make something horrible out of something so convenient? I always bring my 2-liter with me, you know what I mean? And my little bottle of something, usually if I'm gonna be bored for long enough, because they do charge outrageous prices for the mini board. I don't mess with none of that. At any rate, guys, make sure to subscribe to Dr. Bob. Subscribe to me if you like reaction videos too. Thanks so much for watching. As always, this is Zueljin signing off. We'll see you next time.